Sound check, Alan. 1, 2, 3. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else need the...
alleged to be stealing from his own firefighter.
If I can hold it still. Live streaming. You guys always are.
I don't know if they're going to have it live or just we'll just do it back. Here's the one.
Griselda, do you need a white balance? Okay.
I heard Facebook was going to build up this light button yesterday.
Yes. Are they? They're also supposed to be doing facial recognition. Have you guys heard about that one?
Oh.
They already do that?
Oh, that's not good.
Apparently not everywhere. Apparently they're doing it somewhere. When you tag your friends and
There's like, it's like a threefold thing, and I forget that's one of them, and then I forgot the rest of them.
Does anybody need more time? Good to go? Okay. I'm Sergeant Alan Fohl, A-L-A-N-P-F-O-H-L, Phoenix Police Department. And I'm here with Larry Suburbi, Captain, Phoenix Fire Department. So over the last 5 to 6 weeks, Phoenix Fire Departments have been getting their stations broken into or entered, and there have been several thefts occurring at those stations. This past week, our Technical Investigations Unit from our Property Crimes Bureau, with the help of fire department personnel, were able to locate a suspect responsible for these thefts, and this afternoon we arrested him. He is a 36-year-old male. He has 11 years of service with the Phoenix Fire Department, so he currently is a Phoenix firefighter. He is being booked this afternoon on 8 counts of theft, 1 count of criminal damage, 1 count of burglary, and 2 counts of arson. We will be sending out a media release later with his name once he has gone through the booking process. Any questions for me?
What was stolen?
So what they've discovered was it was always cash items or cash being stolen. So cash was being stolen from other firefighters' wallets or from a kitty within the fire department. And it was always done, these thefts were always completed while the fire engines were out of the station.
Was there anything in these crimes to suggest a pattern of knowing the lay of the land at these stations, knowing where to go?
Well, obviously this person knew what they were looking for, and so they were able to get in, or he was able to get in rather quickly, get what he wanted, and then return or leave the station.
How many different stations?
We are still investigating this. Obviously, a fire station is susceptible to burglaries and thefts anyway. We've had roughly 18 stations. Do you know if that's right? Roughly 18 stations that have had crimes committed against them this year. We're not linking all of them to this firefighter. It is possible we may link some more, but right now we have 8 solid counts of theft.
How were you guys able to find the cash in this firefighter? Did he have it with them, or was it part of the investigation?
No, so our investigation, we were able to actually observe him committing the crime at one of the stations. During an interview, he did admit to other crimes.
Surveillance video you saw?
We have detectives that were out there surveilling as well as tips that we were receiving from other firefighters.
Did he give a reason as to why he was admitted in questioning?
Yeah, I don't know his reasoning at this point. Our detectives are still concluding their interviews, and maybe that's something that we will have answered.
He's a current firefighter as well, correct? 11 years on the...
Yes, he is currently with the Phoenix Fire Department.
Do you know which station he was out of? Which house?
I'll let Captain Suburbi answer that.
Is this at all related to the weapons stolen from Phoenix Police Substation?
We don't believe they're related, no.
Do we know the amount as far as the cash?
I don't have an exact amount. Obviously, it was varying amounts from different stations over a long period of time. So once the detectives have all that put together, we might be able to give you a specific amount.
Yeah, were there other members of the station? Well, there had to have been, I guess, come to think of it, during these burglaries. I mean, were there other people inside at the time?
Well, again, he was waiting. As a firefighter, he knows when everyone's going to leave the station, so he was waiting until everyone has left in order to commit this crime.
So was he working like at that station, and then his unit went out to respond to a call, and he stayed behind, or he waited until they left? Because he obviously didn't work at all, 18 stations.
Right. This appears to be something that he wasn't necessarily working out of that station and staying behind. He was going in after the fact.
Were they all Phoenix fire stations that were broken into?
Yes, they were.
Did any of his fellow firefighters suspect anything, turn him in? I know you guys were doing surveillance as well.
No, I think what we have so far is that just the firefighters were starting to notice a pattern amongst the stations that is just being cash taken, and obviously they're going to make a report at the time, and then once all of these reports are compiled and we start seeing a pattern, that's when we realized we're probably looking at the same person.
Did you mention 2 counts of arson? I'm sorry.
I did.
And so can you go into that a little bit more? I mean, where were these fires set?
I don't know the exact locations. I think one was in the West Valley. I think they're both in the West Valley. And we believe these were a ruse to get the firefighters out of the station.
And you don't think they're in any way connected to the serial arsons?
I don't believe so. There may be some others that we connect down the road, but it appears that this was just for the purpose of committing a theft.
Was anyone injured in any of those fires, those 2?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, when we say he broke into other stations, was he on shift, like working at these stations, or he physically went to other stations he wasn't working at in order to burgle?
I'm not familiar with what shift he was on, if he was actually on duty, or what the circumstances were. But I do know that he was going there after other crews left the station, and he wasn't necessarily working at that station.
Do we know what was set on fire?
Yes, I should have mentioned that earlier. They appear to be dumpster fires or trash can fires.
Did you have anyone helping him?
At this point, we don't believe so. We believe he acted alone.
And no one had been injured in any of these situations?
No.
Okay.
No, strictly a property crime.
And those were all in the last couple of weeks? Those arsons?
I don't know when the 2 arsons were that we have connected to him, but the series of thefts was noted sometime around the beginning of January.
Have you investigated a similar case like this before? Where you obviously saw a pattern that fire stations were getting broken into. Have you guys investigated something similar like that before?
Well, obviously, we always look for patterns in any crime, and that's how we tend to put crimes together. We'll look at location, we'll look at times of day. We use a lot of different investigative tools to try to determine when they might hit next or who this suspect may be. But to give you any specifics, I don't have any off the top of my head.
So this was sort of already asked, but just to get a little more specific, is there any reason to believe that this is the same guy responsible for the fires in the area of 29th Street and Thomas?
I don't know which fires he set other than the 2 in the West Valley. He hadn't admitted to any others, so this could be a totally different. But we're going to investigate it anyway just to see if it connects up with any other thefts.
So he did admit to some of these things?
He did.
To get more specific, is it West Phoenix we're talking about, or just the West Valley in general, where these arsons occurred?
West Phoenix. Yeah, these are all Phoenix fire stations.
Do you happen to know if the dumpster fires that he caused, were any of them at the vacant building near Indian School in McDowell, 51 to 40th Street? Just in case you probably don't have that offhand. But.
No, well, those are not the 2. Those aren't in the West Valley, so those aren't the 2 that he admitted to.
Okay.
And again, so any other fire outside of those 2,
Okay.
Something that the arson investigators will look into and see if they are related or not.
Has he been booked yet?
Not yet. We expect him to be booked here shortly. I can't tell you exactly when he's going to get through the system. It depends how busy they are there. But I will be releasing his booking number and his name once I know he's in the system.
He was recently taken into custody after they did surveillance on him. What station, or can you say what station that was at?
He was actually taken into custody in the area of 24th Street and Bell Road. He was not at a fire station when he was taken into custody.
Okay, so they had done surveillance. So when was the most recent break-in that they had done surveillance on that gave him enough, I guess, probable cause to make an arrest?
I don't recall what station that was. I don't know if it's...
Okay.
I wasn't given that information,
okay.
So...
Okay.
I can certainly find out if
okay.
if the investigators are willing to give me that information.
Okay.
I can let you know.
Okay.
Just to clarify, was he arrested at his house on 24th Street and Bell Road, or just?
No. He had. Our investigators had followed him. He went to a business parking lot, and that's where they made the arrest.
As far as his identity, would you be giving that out later today?
Yes, I'm hoping to have that this evening. As soon as he's booked, I'll send out a media release with the details of this and his identification.
Will he booked into 4th Ave here?
Yes, he will. Anything else?
And just to clarify, 8 years or 11 years with the department?
11 years.
11 years.
36 years old.
Did he give you guys any information as to why he might have been doing these things?
I'm not privy to that. If that's something that came out in the investigation or during his interview, I haven't been made aware of his motive. Okay.
I can answer questions if you have
Okay.
questions specifically for me as well.
Go for it. Are you able to say which station he did work at?
So he was a rover, which meant that he worked at different stations on each shift.
So he had knowledge then of different stations, how they work, all of that more.
Well, our firefighters have knowledge of how the station environment is and how the different stations work and their locations.
Okay.
This has to be disappointing. I mean, as a fellow firefighter, to have him do this to other guys, right?
Yeah, it's difficult for us. You know, we are a family. So when there's a theft, any type of theft, whether it's internal or external, it's difficult for us. So, you know, right now our role is really to support the police department in their ongoing investigation. That's important to remember that the investigation is ongoing. So we will continue to support that from our standpoint moving forward.
How has this affected morale for the firefighters?
You know, the arrest just happened today, so to say this early, like how everyone's feeling about it, you know, we had noticed the pattern, and we're really appreciative of Phoenix Police Department. We have a process that when there is a theft, most commonly it's an item that's taken from a station, that gets reported through the battalion chief. So we work closely with Phoenix PD on this, and their investigators did a great job, you know, over the last couple weeks. Our members were very passionate about trying to identify the person as well. They were concerned, you know, but in terms of saying morale specifically, it's a little too early to say.
What exactly, this has been happening through the course of weeks? Was it just money, cash being stolen from wallets, and different guys would get hit different days, or what was actually kind of going on?
So every shift, firefighters go shopping. A lot of people probably see them at the supermarket, so we shop together, we eat together, you know, lunch and dinner. So typically there's a collection, you know, period during the shift. So when we collect the money and we get ready to go shop, it just seemed that was when a lot of the calls were going out, and so they hadn't necessarily collected the money yet, or the money was still laying around, and then noticed that pattern where some of the money was missing.
Will your department be presenting different security measures after what happened?
So that's a good question, and we have been. So all of our newer stations have key cards on the outside. We do have rovers in our system, which means that they don't work at a specific station. About 20% of our department works at a different station every day. So, you know, in terms of making sure they can still get into the station and secure has been difficult. So we've been really vigilant since this information has come out and since we've noticed this pattern to make sure that all the bay doors are locked. That presents a difficulty as well too, because, you know, from a fire department standpoint, we're there for the community, and we want the community to know that they can approach us if something happens and they decide not to call 911 but actually come to a station, that we have to be able to you know, to be able to communicate with the public. So we have been securing the stations differently than we had in the past.
Have you had any problems with this particular firefighter before?
Yeah, it's so early in the investigation in terms of his personnel file, I don't have any of that information.
And I take it some of his victims, he knew them and maybe were even friends with some of them?
He had 11 years on the department, so in terms of the number of stations that were broken into, there is a high likelihood that he knew some of the members. We don't have anything that points that he was stealing from a particular person or a particular member, and that it was just from the station. You know, Sergeant Fold mentioned the kitty. That's a term that we use for where we collect the money to go shopping every day. So it was from the kitty items that the information we have at this time is that that's where he was stealing from.
So he would wait till they went out on a call, then go and steal money from the kitty?
That's the information we have at this time, is that he would wait for the trucks to leave on a call, and then he would know where to access the money at. And and again, important to know, it was only cash. No city property was taken, none of the radios or equipment or anything that was on city grounds that actually belonged to the city. It was always just cash in terms of the information we have right now.
And was it just the cash from the kitty, or was it cash from wallets, perhaps?
Yeah, so there has been some wallets. Money had been taken out of some wallets as well. For the majority of the time, the information we have is that it was from the kitty, but there were over the last couple of weeks some wallets that were hit as well. Any other questions?
Did it escalate? Like, first he was just waiting for them to go out and call, and then all of a sudden was the arson the latest moves?
That would be really more of a question for PD, and I don't even know that we have that information at this time. What we know is that they became a little bit more consistent, but in terms of escalation, I don't have any information that the actual amount of money or the crimes were escalating.
Did he just walk right in, or did he even use his, I'm guessing, badge to get in the door, or what?
Yeah, I don't know how he got into the station. Again, most firefighters, because we have ambulances that start at 9 o'clock at night. So when firefighters show up, they have to be able to get into the station. So we know that he had access to the stations, as our firefighters do. So in terms of each individual crime, how he accessed each station, we don't have that information yet. Not that detailed.
Hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. We
don't have a dollar amount as well. There's never that much money at the station in terms of a cash. I mean, a large station is going to have maybe $140, $150 in cash to shop each day. But in terms of the total amount, we don't have that information yet.
Do all the stations have cameras, security cameras?
No, not all of the stations have security cameras. That's a feature that we look at with the new stations when we build a new station, and again, part of our security measures moving forward, and the thing that we've been one of the things that we've been discussing internally as well to secure our stations.
And he was caught in the act, right? Actually stealing money. Was it by a surveillance camera or by some firefighter who happened to notice it?
What I could say is that we worked with PD in terms of their investigation. As Sergeant Full mentioned, they made the arrest this morning on 24th Street in Bell. It was not at a fire station, so I'm not sure what the process was, in terms of that investigation. And so I'll let him answer that. But I don't think we have specific information of him being caught in the act of stealing. I don't know that.
Was any station broken into twice?
Not that I know of.
He wasn't skipping out on going on calls to commit these crimes, as far as you know.
The information we have right now, it seems that it was when he was off duty or not working. There's nothing to indicate that he was not responding as a firefighter, that he was on duty as a firefighter. Which is important to note in terms of service delivery for our citizens. That there's nothing that we can see right now that shows that the service delivery was hindered by that person not being on the call. So our firefighters were still responding, still able to perform their role and do their job. And so the information I have right now is that did not happen. Any other questions for me?
Do we know the latest station that was broken into?
Are you willing to give a station number?
So so this morning,
okay.
that was a big key that we had was this morning. A station on the west side of town at 43rd Avenue, Virginia, Station 24 was broken into, and from that point, PD had a pretty good idea in terms of surveillance of who the member was, and subsequently made the arrest when he stopped at a business further away.
What were the cross streets of that station you said?
43rd Avenue in Virginia. 43rd Avenue, Thomas, just south.
And he was caught on camera there.
I don't know. In terms of the surveillance, that's specific PD. How they did that, I'm not sure if it was witnessed or if they have camera footage as well. I don't know. And in terms of the public records request for his information that you get, we just go through the normal public information request for that. Okay. Any other questions for me?
So, and just for clarification, I was just made aware the arrest took place at 19th Avenue in Bell, not 24th Street in Bell. We got some numbers mixed up.
When he was taken into custody, did he have any weapons or anything on him?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Again, I'll send out a media release later that'll have his name on it, his booking number, and I will also include all of the related report numbers so that you guys can make your records requests for those. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, if you're just